How about a Coppola Quick Facts?
A couple of quick facts here. This movie, of course, is based on Charlie Kaufman's struggle to adapt the best-selling book, The Orchid Thief, by Susan Orlean. It must have been just such a, like, what the fuck did you do? When she saw this, or like when she read the script, I'm sure
she agreed to it. Apparently, she was reluctant to sign off on this portrayal, but then saw.
I'll get to it here, but she had some very deep thoughts about.
Okay, good. I was going to ask if you
very specific thoughts about this.
If you researched what she had to say.
Yeah, I got a couple quotes from Susan Orlean. Kaufman quickly got writer's block since the book lacked the dramatic structure needed for a movie. So he decided to write a screenplay about himself struggling to write a book adaptation, exaggerating many of the story elements and characters, and making up new ones, such as the non-existent twin brother Donald Kaufman.
Which I think is funny because don't they credit his brother as a writer?
Yeah. Yeah, he's just, yeah.
And he was on the nomination for Oscar too.
Yes, he was. They were going to share a trophy though. Apparently, when that happened, they didn't know that Donald Kaufman didn't exist.
Well, who the fuck would? Like, you don't think the Academy's going to look up all the screenwriters? Really? Like,
yeah, I guess because they did literally give a credit to a non-existent person,
right?
Knowing that the producers would reject the idea, he did not tell them about the new direction in which he was taking the story and simply handed in the finished script. Like, oh my God, the balls to do that. Although this move was supported by Spike Jonze, Kaufman himself believed that it would end his career.
Yeah.
He said, "The idea of how to write the film didn't come to me until quite late," which is exactly what happens in the movie. It was the only idea I had. I liked it, and I knew there was no way it would be approved if I pitched it that way. So I just wrote it and never told the people I was writing it for. I only told Spike Jonze as we were making Being John Malkovich, and he saw how frustrated I was. Had he said I was crazy, I don't know what I would have done. He also said, I really thought I was ending my career by turning that in. Oh my God, I can't even imagine, dude. I mean, I guess you have to assume the guy who wrote Being John Malkovich would give you something weird from The Orchid Thief. Like, who is like the guy who did Being John Malkovich? Have him write that. But I don't know. They had Kevin Smith do rewrites on like Coyote Ugly and shit. So,
and Superman Lives.
And Superman.
Actually, he did the first draft.
Yeah, he did the first draft.
There actually was a first draft already. Oh. He actually talks about it in his Evening With, where he was he read it and he was like, this is a piece of shit. Okay. And they kept bringing him in and like he kept telling the producers, like, this is a piece of shit. It's terrible. Yeah. Why the fuck would you write this?
And his problem was he was writing it too much as a comic fan in an era when that wouldn't really fly for movies. So they eventually told him to fuck off.
Plus they wanted a giant robot spider.
He said that Tim Burton was the one who was like, no, I'm going to I have a guy that writes all of my scripts, so I'm going to bring him in instead. And Kevin Smith was like, cool, I got paid. I don't, it's sad that I won't be part of this, but, whatever. Susan Orlean was strongly opposed to the making of the film when she saw the screenplay. She ended up reluctantly approving its production and was ultimately very impressed with the final result. In 2012, she stated, reading the screenplay was a complete shock. My first reaction was absolutely not. They had to get my permission to make the film. And I just said, no, are you kidding? This is going to ruin my career.
There's a lot of that going around. This movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they turned her into a fucking drug lord at the end and a murderer.
Hey, but at least they had Meryl Streep player.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Very wisely, the producers didn't really pressure her. She said that they told me everybody else had agreed, and I somehow got emboldened. It was certainly scary to see the movie for the first time. It took a while for me to get over the idea that I had been insane to agree to do it, but I love the movie. Now she loves the movie.
I think up until the third act, they did great job at
I mean,
telling her story. And then yes, I
like-
can see why she was apprehensive.
once Charlie jacks off to her, that's when I'm like, okay. I think I would have been out too.
Yeah, I'm like, that fat loser jerking it to me? No.
Which it's funny if you see Charlie Kaufman in real life, he's not really like fat. I mean, he is balding, but it's like, you know, he just has thin hair. They made him way more disgusting in this movie than he actually is.
I think Nick Cage made him more disgusting by putting that weight on.
It's all his self-image, I think, too.
Yeah, or that. Yeah,
he seems a little neurotic.
Yeah, 100%.
No.
Which actually, Susan Orlean was at first concerned that some people would think her portrayal in the film was accurate, but was then reminded how Charlie Kaufman portrays himself in the film. Which fat loser jerking off to random coffee shop girls and stuff. Very self-deprecating
character that we watched.
Yeah. I wasn't on board with Eddie King, but I was definitely on board with Charlie Kaufman.
I identify with Charlie Kaufman more than Eddie King.
Way more, yeah. I think there's a lot of that in this movie. Is like you can definitely see your own like struggles through Charlie's character. Yeah. Charlie Kaufman was nominated for a Golden Globe with Donald Kaufman, and despite the latter being a fictional character. And then they were also both nominated for an Academy Award, and the Academy made it known that in the event of a victory, the two brothers would share one statue. I wonder if he would have won. It would have said Charlie and Donald Kaufman.
I probably would have,
yeah.
Which I'm sure would have been the proudest moment of his life.
Yeah. I just hope
that they share them.
Yeah. I just hope that had they won, he would have had Nick Cage come on stage with them.
Play Donald.
Just as Donald. That would have been amazing.
Distinctly different. It's I don't really in the Coppola questions, I really struggled to try and find anything great, but like one of my big ones is like, is this just like two sides of the same person? Is this like the person that Charlie Kaufman actually wants to be and wishes he could be versus the guy he actually is? Like who exactly does Donald represent to him? Because at some point he had to make a conscious effort to like, I have to show this other side. Like, I don't know when in the writing process he was like, I'll just invent a twin brother.
Right.
There's a dichotomy within me while I'm writing, you know.
I think you're right. I think his twin is the person he wishes to be, because it's the complete opposite of him. He's charismatic. He's outgoing. He doesn't give a fuck what people think about him. He's willing to just throw himself into writing, even though he has no clue what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
I really
so positive.
Yeah, so positive.
I love how positive and like happy and upbeat he is all the time.
Yeah.
So I Charlie's just a fucking neurotic in his own head asshole pretty much.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I think it was just him expressing the person that he wished to be through his twin brother.
Yeah. This film includes 6 Oscar winners as of 2015. Nicolas Cage, Meryl Streep, Chris Cooper, Tilda Swinton, Curtis Hanson, and Spike Jonze. And 4 Oscar nominees with Maggie Gyllenhaal, David O. Russell, Catherine Keener, and John Malkovich. Surprisingly, John Cusack not on that list.
I didn't recognize him without that do-rag.
I actually made a Sal from Arsenal joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's in Act 2.
Meryl Streep actually said that this screenplay was the best she has ever read. I don't know if that was as of 2002, but Meryl Streep has been in some shit. You go through her list of her filmography, like it is crazy, and she thinks that this is the best thing she's ever read.
Wow.
About as high a praise as you can possibly get.
Yeah, especially coming from her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow. Damn.
Nick Cage said that during the filming of the movie, he actually ignored all of his acting instincts to play Charlie Kaufman, and played the role exactly as director Spike Jonze asked him to. You know how we've talked many times how Nick likes to add his own flair and his own interpretations of the character and stuff. But apparently on this film, he just threw all that shit out. And it got him his second Oscar nomination.
Yeah. You could see moments where he was like ramping up to be cagey, and then it came down real quick.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense.
He's very subdued and really just melts into both of those characters. Amazing performance from Cage in this. For this film, Nick Cage became the 6th person to receive an Oscar nomination for playing multiple characters in the same film. Charlie Chaplin, of course, played Adolf Hitler and the Tramp and the Great Dictator. Jose Ferrer for Moulin Rouge in 1952. Peter Sellers for Dr. Strangelove in 64. Lee Marvin in Cat Ballou in 65. Klaus Maria Brandauer for Out of Africa. Meryl.
I was like, with Meryl Streep.
Yep. It's just a joke that nobody will ever fucking get. Upright Citizens Brigade. Go watch it. God damn it. Of these 6, Lee Marvin is the only one to win, which is kind of crazy. 6 different times it's happened and it's never won. Which, like, if you can play 2 characters very convincingly and kill it on both of them, that should be like an auto win, dude. I don't know. Maybe he lost cheating out to the piano or the pianist. Adrian Brody. Such a shame. I think if he would have been more in a supporting role in this film, I think he would have won. Because both Meryl Streep and Chris Cooper were nominated, and Chris Cooper won, which I feel like Chris Cooper is great, but I feel like Cage outshines him in this film.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he outshines Meryl Streep, too, which is saying a lot. Nicolas Cage's brother, we've previously talked about Mark Coppola on Deadfall. He was the guy at the bar when Talia Shire is like working as the bartender. He actually stood in for Donald and Charlie in the scenes where they had to both be on screen, and you actually see it pretty well in the swamp when Charlie is like sleeping on Donald.
To get to play a second person.
I wondered if that was him.
And I saw in the credits that he was the stand-in.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I just wonder what it would look like with
Chris Coppola.
Chris Coppola. Chris
Hanging out with Steven Seagal all of a sudden?
No, he looks more like Steven Seagal than he looks like Nick Cage.
But Mark Coppola looks exactly like Nick Cage. Yeah. It's crazy.
They look very similar.
They're very, very like when you see him in Deadfall, you're kind of like, is that Nick Cage?
Wow, that hard Nick Cage.
Like young Nick Cage. What the hell? He apparently is a big New York City radio personality. I had no idea. He's on the radio a bunch. It's funny. I wonder, what those, like, if he's ever, I'm sure, constantly asked about Nick Cage, and I wonder what he has to say about his brother's career on the radio. Be interesting to hear Mark Coppola's interpretation of his career. Joaquin Phoenix auditioned for the role of John LaRoche and got very close to getting it. This movie would have been so different with Joaquin Phoenix in it. Probably would not have enjoyed it nearly as much. I don't know why, but he just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't know what it is about that dude, but he just creeps me out.
It's like you're John Malkovich.
Yeah. It's, someday I feel like there's going to be something that's going to come out about Joaquin Phoenix, and I'm going to be like, see, I fucking told you. Guy's a weirdo. According to Spike Jonze, during one of their final meetings, Phoenix told him that he was wrong for the part and that it should go to someone else, and took himself out of the running. Oh, thank you, Joaquin. Chris Cooper eventually got the part and ended up winning an Oscar. But I don't think Joaquin Phoenix would have won a fucking Oscar for this.
No, I think he was smart removing himself because I just don't see him fitting that character.
Would not have fit. He just doesn't feel, he doesn't have that like country.
No.
bumpkin vibe to him, and Chris Cooper does that really well. It's like it's funny because it's like you have to play this line of like being a country bumpkin and a kind of a genius at the same time. Like he plays this really smart, but also really dumb at the same time,
and he nailed it.
Yeah, he's fucking perfect for this role. To portray John LaRoche, Chris Cooper grew out his hair, shed some weight, and used a prosthesis to create the illusion of a toothless mouth. I always kind of wondered how they did that, if they would like, do it as an effect, but I think it's just on top of his teeth and it's just sticking down. So the teeth are just coming down further.
Yeah.
And then there's the gap underneath and he just has to be conscious of his lip.
There's a couple scenes where the lighting betrays the effect and you can see that it's just blacked out.
Yeah.
It's a blacked out cap. But for the most part, he did a really good job at hiding it. It's just the angle and the lighting in a couple scenes. I don't think there's anything he could have done.
He apparently had requested numerous takes to get the right tone of the character. And Spike Jonze was very patient and allowed him to just kind of play with the character a lot and gave him an Oscar. And the film is much better for it, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If that role hadn't been nailed, I think this film would have been less enjoyable. Like you said.
I think that's what was, everybody's draw to The Orchid Thief, the book in the first place, was John LaRoche.
It's got to be believable why somebody would become enamored with him and his lifestyle. And he does that perfect.
We'll talk about it in the breakdown, but like I really feel like that moment when you realize how he lost his teeth and like what happened to him is like the moment you really start to like understand him and it's just done so beautifully.